Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I am Valsa Williams and with me is VC Pramod with the Midday News. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold virtual meet with vaccine manufacturers at 6 this evening. Medical oxygen supply in the country increased by nearly 4 times. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh asks Army Chief, Defence Secretary and DRDO Chief to offer available facilities and expertise to civilians during the COVID-19 crisis. Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan says health of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh is stable. Over 2,59,000 fresh cases of COVID-19 reported in the country so far. Delhi government assures availability of more than 2,700 COVID beds to fulfill growing demand in the city. All 28 districts in Chhattisgarh under complete lockdown from today to check the spike in COVID-19 cases. Night curfew to come into effect from today in Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Kerala and Puducherry. Miguel Diaz-Canel to succeed Raul Castro as the president of Cuba. And in IPL cricket, Delhi Capitals to clash with Mumbai Indians this evening at M.A. Chidambaram Stadium in Chennai. As the number of COVID cases is on the rise again, we appeal to our listeners not to lower their guard, follow all precautions, and all those above 45 years to get vaccinated without any hesitation. Stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki doori for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And other news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold a meeting with vaccine manufacturers through video conferencing at 6 p.m. today. This would be the Prime Minister's 3rd interaction with focus groups after doctors and pharma companies yesterday. Serum Institute of India's Chief Executive Officer Adar Poonawalla has expressed his gratitude towards Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In a tweet, he thanked the Prime Minister and Finance Minister for the decisive policy changes. He also said that swift financial aid will boost vaccine production and distribution in India. COVID-19 vaccination will be made available to the people aged above 18 years from the 1st of May. The youth of Delhi have welcomed the decision of the central government, saying that they will definitely take the jab and protect themselves and the country. Talking to AIR News, Vipasha Gaur of East Delhi said this initiative is going to provide protection against the coronavirus in the grim situation of the pandemic.
The initiative taken by the central government to open vaccination for all above 18 years from May 1 is indeed required at this time when pandemic has worstly hit to the youth category. This initiative is going to prove as a shield for the protection in such adverse situations. I support this and not only will get myself vaccinated but will ask my friends and colleagues too.
Appreciating the decision, Hema Ramaswamy of North Delhi said this initiative will certainly contain the spread of the infection big time.
In my opinion, allowing vaccination for 18 plus is a very good decision. As in India, majority of the people are coming under this age and it will allow them to go for their job outside their home. This shows how eagerly the vaccination drive is being conducted. I will also get my vaccination done after 1st May.
Youngsters are happy with the decision of the government to allow vaccination for all above the age of 18 years. Nupur Matre from Dombivli in Maharashtra shared her feelings with All India Radio News and said that she will go for vaccination. She also appealed everyone to get vaccinated.
I am Nupur Matre. I live in Dombivli. As you know, cases are increasing day by day. It's been great that government has took this decision and I am happy to know that I can also take this vaccine. This will minimize the cases and will benefit the country as a whole. I agree with government decisions and let my family and friends to take this vaccine as soon as possible.
The Health Ministry said a total number of 2,59,170 new cases have been reported in the country in the last 24 hours, taking the cumulative positive cases to over 1,53 lakh. 1,761 deaths have been reported during the last 24 hours, taking the toll to 1,80,530 across the country. Over 12,71,29,000 doses of COVID vaccine have been administered to the beneficiaries in the country so far. Union Health Ministry said that more than 32,76,000 doses were given to the beneficiaries in the last 24 hours. The country's COVID-19 recovery rate has reached 85.56%, with a total recovery of more than 1,54,000 patients in the last 24 hours. The ministry said over 1,31 lakh patients have recovered from the disease. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is over 20,31,000, which comprises 13.26% of the total positive cases.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh spoke to Army Chief General M.M. Naravane, the Defence Secretary and the DRDO Chief, and asked them to offer available facilities and expertise to civilians during the COVID-19 crisis. The Defence Minister also directed the Army Chief that local commanders must reach out to Chief Ministers and offer all possible help. Following it, the Defence Secretary also issued instructions to 67 Cantonment Board hospitals across the country to extend medical services to every patient who reaches out to them. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is chairing a meeting through video conference to review the Defence Ministry's preparations and response to the COVID-19 situation. The meeting is being attended by the three service chiefs, Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat, Defence Secretary, DRDO Chairman and Director General of Armed Forces Medical Services. The medical oxygen supply in the country has been increased by nearly 4 times in a span of just around 2 months. Reports suggest that per-day production capacity of medical oxygen in the country has been enhanced from 1,273 metric tons in the last week of February this year to 4,739 metric tons per day in the recent past.
Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi, Manish Sisodia, has assured that more than 2,700 beds will be arranged in the next 4 to 5 days to fulfill the growing demand of beds in the city. Briefing reporters on the COVID-19 situation in Delhi, the Deputy CM said the government is working to increase the bed capacities in several hospitals. He urged the public to avoid panic situation and get the details about beds from Delhi Corona app. He said strict action will be taken against the hospitals which will not provide the exact details of beds on the app. Northern Railway will be running 5 more special trains for Bihar during the next 3 days. It is informed that all trains are running normally and passengers can book the tickets and travel safely on reserved tickets. Monitoring the situation closely, railways have said that more trains would be made operational if the need arises.
Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan today said he has followed up on the health condition of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh with the medical team attending to him at AIIMS, New Delhi. In a tweet, Dr. Vardhan said his condition is stable and best possible care is being provided. 88-year-old Dr. Singh was admitted to AIIMS yesterday after he tested COVID positive. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has said the decision to impose lockdown in the city has been taken in view of the health and safety of the people. In a tweet today, the Chief Minister urged the public to help the government by staying at home. Yesterday, the Delhi government had imposed 6-day lockdown in the national capital to contain the rapid rise of coronavirus cases. The lockdown, which came into effect from last night, will continue till upcoming Monday morning.
In Tamil Nadu, night curfew comes into force from today in wake of the surging COVID counts. Full lockdowns on all Sundays are set to commence from the 25th of this month. A report from our Chennai correspondent.
All the tourist destinations and sandy beaches in Tamil Nadu are kept under security lockdown due to the resurgence of COVID-19 spread. Though religious festivities and mosque gatherings are banned, offering prayers and places of worship are permitted, subject to stringent conditions. To prevent the spread of the virus in sacred places, the State Chief Secretary, the DGP and the senior officials have held exhaustive discussions with religious leaders today. Jai Singh, AER News, Chennai.
Telangana state government has imposed night curfew across the state from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. with immediate effect. This will continue to be in effect for 10 days till the 1st of May. Curfew will come into effect from 9 p.m. every day and continue till 5 a.m. next morning during this period. More from our Hyderabad correspondent.
The orders imposing night curfew in Telangana came a day after Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao tested positive for the novel coronavirus. With mild symptoms, he is in isolation under monitoring of a team of doctors at his farmhouse in Gazvale. Besides, it may be recalled that the State High Court has directed the state government to take a decision on imposing night curfew or lockdown in 48 hours to contain the growing number of fresh COVID cases. The state government in its order said all offices, firms, shops, establishments and restaurants shall be closed by 8 p.m. The hospitals, diagnostic labs, pharmacies and those dealing with supply of essential services will be exempted from the curfew. Persons coming from and going to airports, railway stations and bus stands will be allowed to move out on production of a valid ticket. There will not be any restriction on interstate and intrastate movement and transportation of essential and non-essential goods. Lakshmi, AR News, Hyderabad.
In Kerala, as COVID cases continue to surge, night curfew for 2 weeks begins from today. The curfew will be imposed from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. There will not be any restriction on public transport. Private tuition centres are not allowed to open. Only online classes can be continued. Class 10th and 12th state board exams would continue, adhering to all safety measures. 13,644 new COVID cases were confirmed yesterday. In a bid to check the second wave of coronavirus infection, Puducherry administration has imposed a night curfew from today between 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. More from our correspondent.
Puducherry Lieutenant Governor Dr. Tamilisai Soundararajan announced a night curfew in the Union Territory beginning from today. LG said that the beach will be closed between evening 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. In hotels, customers will be allowed to sit and eat up to 8 o'clock in the evening. After that, only parcels will be allowed. Mask compliance would be strictly enforced. To ease the availability of face masks, that will be made available in selected 70 Panle milk booths also. Further, cinemas should have only 50% of seating capacity. Religious and social functions should have restricted gatherings. Moreover, for COVID patients, 2,428 beds are available, 970 with oxygen facilities and 135 beds with ventilators. Chandramohan, AR News, Puducherry.
Chhattisgarh is under complete lockdown from today, with 2 more districts of Sukma and Kondagaon going for closure. With this, lockdown is effective in all the 28 districts of the state. The lockdown has started yielding desired results in a couple of districts where it was imposed earlier. The number of COVID tests are being increased to identify and isolate the patients as part of efforts to prevent the spread of the infection. Our Raipur correspondent says vaccination drive is also continuing vigorously.
In Chhattisgarh, emphasis is being laid on testing more samples for the identification of corona-infected patients. At present, about 1,500 samples per 1 million population are being tested daily. In the last 1 week, about 350,000 samples have been tested in the state. Meanwhile, the COVID vaccination campaign is also continuing vigorously in the state. Chhattisgarh ranks 7th in the entire country in vaccination. So far, about 45 lakh people have been given the first dose of COVID vaccine in the state. This is about 15% of the total population of the state. Vikalp Shukla, AIR News, Raipur.
Uttar Pradesh government has decided to extend the present corona curfew for 1 more day. The corona curfew will now be imposed on Saturday and Sunday. This order will be implemented with immediate effect. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath also ordered to impose night curfew from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. in those districts where COVID cases are more than 500. Only emergency services will continue during this time. Chief Minister has also ordered to make all arrangements for the safe and secure return of those workers who are returning from states like Maharashtra, Rajasthan and Delhi. He also asked Home Department and Transport Department to take necessary action for these arrangements and also conduct proper tracing and testing of these people. He mentioned that special vigilance is necessary in the bordering districts. You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold virtual meet with vaccine manufacturers at 6 this evening. Medical oxygen supply in the country increased by nearly 4 times. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh asks Army Chief, Defence Secretary and DRDO Chief to offer available facilities and expertise to civilians during COVID-19 crisis. Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan says health of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh is stable. Over 2,59,000 fresh cases of COVID-19 reported in the country in the last 24 hours. Delhi government assures availability of more than 2,700 COVID beds to fulfill growing demand in the city. All the 28 districts in Chhattisgarh under complete lockdown from today to check the spike of COVID-19 cases. Night curfew to come into effect from today in Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Kerala and Puducherry. Miguel Diaz-Canel to succeed Raul Castro as the president of Cuba. And in IPL cricket, Delhi Capitals to clash with Mumbai Indians this evening at M.A. Chidambaram Stadium in Chennai. For quick news updates around the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो खुद से वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
Welcome back to the Midday News. Gujarat government has slashed the rates of RT-PCR tests for COVID-19 by private laboratories. Announcing this decision, the Deputy Chief Minister Nitin Patel has said that the RT-PCR test charged through laboratory visit will be 700 rupees instead of 800 rupees. If a test is conducted by laboratory staff through visiting home or hospital, the charge will be 900 rupees instead of 1100 rupees. Our Ahmedabad correspondent reports that new cases of COVID-19 in Ahmedabad are continuing to surge.
Gujarat has recorded 11,403 new cases of COVID-19 during the last 24 hours. Maximum 4,207 new cases reported from Ahmedabad, while Surat recorded 1,879 new cases. 4,179 patients recovered and were discharged from the various hospitals. 117 patients lost their lives yesterday due to COVID-19. Now Gujarat has 68,754 active cases at present, out of which 341 patients are on ventilator. Meanwhile, Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation has added 17 new areas under micro-containment zone following detection of new cases. Yogesh Pandya, AIR News, Ahmedabad.
In Maharashtra, 6.76 lakh patients are under treatment for COVID-19. More than 37 lakh are under home quarantine and around 27,000 are under institutional quarantine. In order to help local administrations, various organizations have set up COVID centers at various places in the state. Pune Zilla Parishad employees have voluntarily contributed 1 day's salary. In Nandurbar district, women's special isolation ward has been set up by Zilla Parishad. A report.
Pune Zilla Parishad employees have voluntarily contributed a salary of 1 day. Around 2 crore rupees collected from this will be used for treatment of corona patients in rural area. Around 130 doctors, including 30 specialists, will be appointed and their honorarium will be paid from these funds. Nandurbar Zilla Parishad has set a special COVID isolation ward for female patients. It has 150 beds and ZP's healthcare workers will provide their services in these wards. In Nashik district, Mahatma Phule Samta Parishad has set up 395-bed COVID center, out of which 180 have an oxygen facility. Some local corporators have also set up a COVID centers through the people's participation. Jain community has set up a 35-bed hospital in private hotel. Private doctor and healthcare workers are providing their services in these centers to ease the burden of government staff. With Sanjay Pathak from Nashik and Nilesh Pawar from Nandurbar, this is Jeevan Bhavsar, AIR News, Mumbai.
In Andhra Pradesh, 5,963 new COVID-19 cases have been recorded in the last 24 hours. 2,569 have recovered in the state.
In Polbound, West Bengal, all the necessary preparations are being finalized for the 6th phase of polling of assembly elections on Thursday. Polling will be conducted from 7 in the morning till 6:30 in the evening. The Election Commission has decided to use Voter Verifiable Paper Audit Trail (VVPAT) along with electronic voting machine (EVM) at every polling station. This has been done with a view to enhance the transparency and credibility of the election process, as VVPAT allows the voter to verify his or her vote. The arrangements have already been made to ensure availability of adequate number of EVMs and VVPATs for the smooth conduct of the elections. In view of the prevailing pandemic, the Election Commission has decided to allow maximum 1,000 electors in a polling station instead of the earlier stipulation of 1,500 electors. Option of postal ballot facility has been extended to the electors who are COVID-19 positive or suspect as certified by competent authority and are in home or institutional quarantine, along with those marked as persons with disabilities and above the age of 80 years. It will be ensured that every polling station is equipped with assured minimum facilities like drinking water, waiting shed, toilet with water facility, adequate arrangements for lighting, ramp of appropriate gradient for persons with disabilities. The special facilities will include mandatory sanitization of polling station, thermal checking of voters at entry point either by polling staff or paramedical staff or an ASHA worker. If temperature is above the set norms of the Health Ministry, then the elector will be provided with token and asked to come for voting at the last hour of poll. At the last hour of poll, such electors will be facilitated for voting strictly following COVID-19 related preventive measures. During the sixth phase, total 306 candidates, including 27 women, will be vying for the 43 assembly seats spread over 4 districts of West Bengal, going to polls in this phase on the 22nd of April. The election campaign has now gained momentum for the 7th as well as the 8th and final phase of assembly elections, with prominent leaders of different political parties engaging in whirlwind tours for canvassing in favor of their candidates. During the 7th phase of elections, 34 out of previously scheduled 36 assembly constituencies spread over 5 districts will go to polls on the 26th of April as the poll process in respect of 2 seats was adjourned by the Election Commission following deaths of the candidates. The remaining 35 assembly constituencies spread over 4 districts will go to polls in the 8th and final phase on the 29th of April. Counting of votes will be taken up together on the 2nd of May.
All the major political parties have announced drastic reduction in the crowd that will gather during the election campaign in the remaining 2 phases of election in West Bengal due to spike in COVID-19 cases. BJP President JP Nadda has announced that not more than 500 people will gather in the public rallies. He also said that all campaigns of the party will follow COVID preventive guidelines. Trinamool Congress Supremo Mamata Banerjee has announced that she will not organize any big rallies or road shows in Kolkata to avoid large gatherings, and the duration will also be reduced. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi had tweeted some time back that he has cancelled all his rallies in West Bengal due to the rapid spread of COVID pandemic and had appealed to all the other political parties to follow suit. The left parties have been conducting a door-to-door campaign since the 4th phase of election in the state. The highest number of COVID-19 cases are reported from Kolkata, followed by the 3 adjoining districts of North 24 Parganas, South 24 Parganas and Howrah. Miguel Díaz-Canel will succeed Raúl Castro as the Cuban Communist Party's first secretary, the most powerful position on the island. He is the first person without the surname of Castro to run Cuba since the 1959 revolution. Díaz-Canel is seen as loyal to the Castros and their economic model. On Friday, Raúl Castro announced that he would step down from the key position of the party and hand over the leadership to a younger generation. At 60, Díaz-Canel is almost 30 years younger than his predecessor and will now hold Cuba's 2 most important positions, head of the party and president of the state. 89-year-old Castro had been in the post since 2011 when he took over from his older brother Fidel Castro.
In Bangladesh, Mamunul Haq, the Joint Secretary-General of the hardline organization Hifazat-e-Islam, was arrested on charges of attempt to murder, assault and vandalism relating to a case filed last year. Hifazat-e-Islam has been accused of large-scale violence in several parts of Bangladesh. A Dhaka court sent Mamunul Haq on a 7-day remand after the police produced him before the court yesterday. Taiwan is supposed to be one of the wettest places in the world, but there has been little rain in the past year in the island nation and plunged Taiwan into its worst drought in 56 years. Many of its reservoirs are at less than 20% capacity. The semiconductor sector is a big contributor to the island's overall economy, but it requires a lot of water. Struggling to ensure supplies, the government stopped irrigating more than 74,000 hectares of farmland. It has also turned off the tap for residents and businesses in 3 cities and countries, including one of its biggest municipalities, Taichung, 2 days a week. In dry areas, high-volume industrial users, including semiconductor manufacturers, have been asked to reduce water usage, such as hair salons and car wash businesses.
India's ambassador to China, Vikram Misri, has said the tendency to sweep the situation at the border under the carpet and characterize it as just a minor issue and a matter of perspective is inadvisable. Ambassador Misri was speaking at an online event between Indian think tank, Indian Council of World Affairs, and Chinese think tank, Chinese People's Institute of Foreign Affairs, which was also addressed by Chinese ambassador to India, Sun Wei-tung, among others. Ambassador Misri said it can only take the two countries further away from a sustained solution to present difficulties and deeper into an unfulfilling stalemate. In IPL cricket, Delhi Capitals will take on Mumbai Indians at 7:30 this evening at the M.A. Chidambaram Stadium in Chennai. Yesterday, Chennai Super Kings defeated Rajasthan Royals by 45 runs at Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. Put into bat first, Chennai posted a big score of 188 for the loss of 9 wickets in the 20 overs with the help of Faf du Plessis' 33 runs off 17 balls, Ambati Rayudu's 27 off 17 and Moeen Ali's 26 off 20 balls. For Rajasthan, Chetan Sakaria picked up 3 wickets while Chris Morris scalped 2 dismissals. In reply, Rajasthan Royals only managed to score 143 runs for 9 wickets in the stipulated overs. Now let us take a look at the weather report and forecast for today. National capital Delhi will have a maximum temperature of around 35 degrees Celsius. The minimum was 23 degrees. Mumbai, with partly cloudy sky towards evening, is likely to see a maximum temperature of around 34 degrees Celsius, rising from a lower level of 25 degrees. Kolkata, having a partly mainly clear sky, the city temperature will move from a minimum of 27 degrees to maximum of around 38. Chennai is seeing a partly cloudy sky. The upper limit of temperature will be 34 degrees while the lower limit was 29. Srinagar is seeing a generally cloudy sky with moderate rain. The temperature will hover between 7 and 20 degrees Celsius. Jammu is seeing generally cloudy sky with light rain. The temperature will rise from a minimum of 18 degrees Celsius to a maximum of around 33 degrees. Leh, with mainly clear sky, an upper limit of temperature will be around 12 for a minimum of -3 degrees Celsius. Gilgit is having partly cloudy sky with temperature will move from a minimum of 7 to a maximum of 20 degrees. Muzaffarabad, the sky is cloudy. The temperature will increase from minimum of 8 degrees to a maximum of around 21. Dehradun experiencing rain or thunder showers with strong gusty winds. The upper limit of temperature will be around 33 degrees from a minimum of 16. Chandigarh, the sky is generally cloudy with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. Temperature likely to rise up to 30 degrees Celsius from 19 degrees. In Hyderabad, rain or thunder showers would occur towards evening or night. The temperatures will fluctuate between 22 to 36 degrees Celsius. Ahmedabad is having partly cloudy sky. The maximum temperature will be around 40 degrees while the minimum was 27. Patna is witnessing mainly clear sky. Temperatures moving from 23 to 40 degrees. In Guwahati, the sky is generally cloudy with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. Maximum temperature will be nearly 21 degrees. I beg your pardon, the maximum temperature will be around 32 degrees, minimum 21 degrees. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold virtual meet with vaccine manufacturers at 6 this evening. Medical oxygen supply in the country increased by nearly 4 times. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh asks Army Chief, Defence Secretary and DRDO Chief to offer available facilities and expertise to civilians during the COVID-19 crisis. Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan says health of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh is stable. Over 2,59,000 fresh cases of COVID-19 reported in the country in the last 24 hours. Delhi government assures availability of more than 2,700 COVID beds to fulfill growing demand in the city. All 28 districts in Chhattisgarh under complete lockdown from today to check the spike in COVID-19 cases. Night curfew to come into effect from today in Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Kerala and Puducherry. Miguel Diaz-Canel to succeed Raul Castro as the president of Cuba. And in IPL cricket, Delhi Capitals to clash with Mumbai Indians this evening at M.A. Chidambaram Stadium in Chennai. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.com and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the Midday News.